the second biggest public university. So you want the people that are in power to be responsible and to not be taking part in inappropriate relationships.
Look, I think the university has been incredibly transparent already. I think the statement lays out what happened to the best of our knowledge.
Developing news tonight on the shocking resignation of Ohio State University President Ted Carter. He says he had an inappropriate relationship with a woman who was looking to get public resources to support her business. Mike McCarthy has the full story.
OH, bye-bye. Ohio State President Ted Carter resigned just 2 days after giving his latest presidential report to the Board of Trustees last week.
I don't intend to make any new announcements today.
That comment from Carter came as he addressed growing calls for the Wexner name to be wiped from the medical center and more campus buildings. His resignation, Ohio State spokesman Ben Johnson said, had nothing to do with Wexner.
Were they aware of it before he made his presidential report at Thursday's meeting?
I don't know the answer to that question.
Good morning again to our guests.
On Saturday, trustees met for a 3-hour-long executive session. The public part only lasted about a minute, enough time to say they were about to discuss
Personnel matters involving the appointment, employment, and compensation of public officials.
Carter's resignation letter has the same date as that executive session, and it says, "Please accept this as official notice of my resignation as president of The Ohio State University, effective March 7th, 2026. I am grateful for my time at Ohio State and appreciate the board's understanding." There's no mention of the reason for the resignation, but on Monday, an Ohio State spokesman said Carter recently told the trustees he had an inappropriate relationship with someone seeking public resources to support her personal business. Johnson offered few details about that person.
Can you share any specifics about who this person was that was seeking these public resources and for what purpose?
It was someone outside the university, and it was for personal business use.
Here in Columbus, is she local to Columbus?
I believe so.
OSU Board of Trustees Chair John Zeiger wrote to Carter, the board was surprised and disappointed to learn of this matter and takes the situation and its potential impact on the university very seriously. We respect your decision. In a statement from the university, Carter called it a difficult decision, saying he made a mistake in allowing inappropriate access to Ohio State leadership.
And OSU is investigating the relationship. We don't know a timeline for when that will be completed. We're expected to learn a bit later this week about the leadership transition and the search for a new president. And tonight we're learning a lot more about the business at the center of all of this. In the last 45 minutes, Jobs Ohio issued a statement. They say they are aware of Carter's resignation and that this situation is possibly connected to a relationship between him and the host of a podcast that is sponsored by Jobs Ohio. It is called the Call Out Podcast. The statement says that Jobs Ohio supports a variety of workforce initiatives to educate and attract veterans about the excellent job opportunities and quality of life in Ohio. It also says the sponsorship of this podcast went through the standard legal process. Now, we check with the podcast, and Ted Carter appeared several times in just the past few months.
Students I talked to this morning were just learning via email that President Carter had resigned. They told me they were shocked and surprised.
I was sitting in property class and someone in front of me said Ted Carter just resigned, and then everyone kind of gasped.
Gasps in the classrooms when the email from the university hit their phones. That's how OSU students learned that Ted Carter was out. Senior Colin McPhail from Cincinnati said he didn't want to find out that way.
You're pretty much just sending out a mass email telling everybody that your president's engaging in misconduct. It's just not good, you know.
What did students think of Carter? Opinions were mixed. First-year law student Saba Rahman says a change could be good.
I feel like I've always heard conflicting opinions. I don't think people are the biggest fan of him. I think there might have been a general consensus that this might be a good thing.
I liked him. I don't know. I think like safety-wise, he improved the safety of the campus.
Okay.
Other than that, I can't really tell what else he's really done, but
I really didn't have much of an opinion on him. I don't really think many of my friends did either. I mean, obviously now that's different.
McPhail has been through 2 presidents in his time at OSU. Christina Johnson was reportedly forced out, and she abruptly resigned. Now Carter. Students are worried about what this says about the job and their university.
It does kind of worry me because these are the people that are in charge of making decisions that are regarding to all of us. They control what happens on this campus. I mean, we're the second biggest public university. So you want the people that are in power to be responsible and to not be taking part in inappropriate relationships.
Hope things get back on track, but obviously very disappointing, to be honest with you.
On your side, on campus, I'm Tom Bosco, ABC6 News.
Ted Carter has led the university through some tumultuous years. He first came to OSU back in January of 2024, and his first controversy came not long after that. In fact, it was in April of that year. That's when pro-Palestinian protests got out of hand on campus, leading to dozens of arrests. Carter faced criticism and allegations of limiting students' free speech. Then in May of that same year, in 2024, Carter was also slammed for his selection of Chris Pan as commencement speaker. Pan was booed when he told students to buy Bitcoin. Pan later admitted to being high on a hallucinogen. Then in March of the next year, in 2025, Carter oversaw the implementation of Senate Bill 1. That banned DEI here on campus, along with faculty strikes, and required annual reviews of faculty, including those with tenure. Carter also had to deal with the fallout of the Richard Strauss sex abuse scandal. The university is currently being sued by survivors over the school's handling of that situation. There's also been weeks of recent protests to remove Les Wexner's name from campus buildings over his ties to convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Wexner has long denied knowing about Epstein's crimes. You know, there is that saying in life that somehow everything goes back to politics. So today we went to a political expert right here at OSU to get some perspective on this. We talked with Paul Beck. He is a professor emeritus of political science at OSU. And he says, you know, at the end of the day, faculty and students likely won't notice any sort of major change in their individual lives here on campus when it comes to Carter's departure. But we did talk with Beck about what the staff thought of President Ted Carter and what they would like to see in the next leader here at Ohio State. Here's what he told us.
I think probably mixed feelings. They respected him in many ways. Many of the people there would much prefer somebody who has a PhD and who has developed a research career. And there are such people around. Sometimes they make good presidents, sometimes they don't.
A couple of early names for you here. Jim Tressel, maybe Gordon Gee. Those are some of the names we are hearing in the rumor mill. Tressel's term as lieutenant governor does end at the end of this year. He is in his 70s. Gee is a consultant right now for Ohio State. He does have a doctorate, but he is in his 80s. Now, it is possible that one of those men could take over until the board does select a new president here at Ohio State, or the provost perhaps could be moved into that role. But when it comes to the history of presidents here at Ohio State, it is no secret that there has been a lot of turnover over the last 25 years. In fact, in just the last 6 years, since the year 2000, there have been 3 presidents here at Ohio State, and not all of them left on their own accord. Terry Sullivan on your side tonight, walking us through this history.
William Kerwin was Ohio State's 12th president, serving from 1998 until 2002. He left the role to become chancellor of the University System of Maryland. Later that year, Karen Holbrook stepped in as the university's 13th president. She led the school for about 5 years before stepping down in 2007 when her contract expired, saying she wanted to spend more time with family. In October of 2007, familiar face E. Gordon Gee returned for a second stint as president. But his tenure ended in 2013 after controversial remarks about Notre Dame, Catholics, and the SEC sparked backlash. Following a reprimand from the Board of Trustees, Gee announced his retirement. William Drake became Ohio State's 15th president in 2014 and served until 2020. His presidency included several high-profile challenges, including the Richard Strauss sexual abuse scandal, the suspension of football coach Urban Meyer, and an investigation into the university's marching band. Drake stepped down in 2020 and later left the university. Christina Johnson took over as the school's 16th president in September of 2020, but less than 3 years later, she abruptly resigned. Johnson later telling us her departure stemmed from conflicts with the Ohio State Board of Trustees. And now the latest chapter. President Ted Carter announcing he is stepping down after just over 2 years in the role. In a statement, Carter says he allowed inappropriate access to Ohio State leadership. The university asked about the revolving door of leaders and what it says about the school's stability.
So I wouldn't conflate those two things, although it's a natural question and I understand why you're asking. I think the reasons for this departure are made clear in the initial statement. And as I mentioned, the university will be investigating. I would say that, the university has great momentum, and I expect that momentum will continue.
The university projecting strength as it begins another leadership transition. On your side, Terry Sullivan, ABC6 News.
A report on the history here at Ohio State as it now turns towards the future, and we are not done by far looking into what is next here on the campus of Ohio State. Keep in mind, as we uncover more information in the coming days, we will send out push alerts, instant breaking news alerts, straight to your phone or your selected device on the free ABC6 News app. To get that app, just search WSYX ABC6 in your app store and make sure you turn on those push notifications.